Hello, Algorators. Court is back in session. I'm Al Reynolds, and this is the Court of Public Opinion. I'll be serving as the judge, and you, the viewers, will be the jury. The Court of Public Opinion is a place where you and your voice, the people voice, will be heard. Be sure to hit that like button. Be sure to hit that subscribe button if you're not subscribed. Be sure to hit that share button if you are subscribed. Don't forget to turn on your notifications because it's going to be a juicy week this week. We got all things Trump and Kamala Kamala Harris. We will be covering it tonight and for the balance of the week. Also, get in those comments because we want to hear from you. All right, let's introduce our legal beagles, our original two. First up, we have the beautiful, the wonderful, the boisterous, and a big voice, Simone Redwine. Welcome, counselor.
Hey, y'all. Good to see you. I miss y'all.
All right, and let's welcome back the prosecutor, the criminal attorney, Brian Ross. Welcome back, Brian. Okay, you're on mute, buddy. You're not working. Your mic isn't working. Welcome back, Brian. Everybody, Brian has been dealing with, first of all, he's been traveling Europe for half the summer, and then he came back and had COVID. So hopefully we can get him back on track in a second. Simone, yes. What happened over the weekend? Everybody's in trouble with the law.
Which part? You talking about me getting dumped?
No.
Oh, I did get dumped.
Wait a minute, you got this weekend?
Oh, yeah. It's okay. He wasn't really my boyfriend, but
okay.
I had a good time otherwise. I went to Chicago Black Scene. Oh, right, we back.
Brian, are you back? You're not working.
I bet you have to change your mic. You probably have to change your microphone, Brian.
Mike, Sean, take him off the front stage, please. Work on that. All right, everybody. Be sure to put those red wine emojis in the chat for Simone Redwine. Don't forget, I love a good fax emoji in the chat for me, of course. And Brian is back. Our criminal attorney is back, and he put that briefcase in the chat for Brian. Brian Ross, did you get it together yet?
Let's check. Mic check. 1, 2, 3. We good?
All right, counselor.
Sorry about that, y'all. Apologize.
Counselor, in my courtroom, we listen with these and not those.
Yes, sir.
Get that audio together, sir. All right, everybody, we have a great show for you tonight. Court is now in session. First up, Chris Brown. Welcome to the Court of Public Opinion. Chris Brown is being sued for $50 million, or is his security being sued? All we know that Chris Brown and his security are being sued for $50 million. Attorney Simone Redwine, what is going on with Chris Brown? And it was in the state of Texas, which is your state, so I need to know all the laws he broke and how we plan to prosecute him.
Correct. So the lawsuit was filed here in Harris County, which is Houston, Texas. It's been filed by the Busby Law Firm. The Busby Law Firm is known for going after celebrities. They went after the Texans quarterback, Deshaun Watson, at one point for completely frivolous claims, if you ask me. But here, what the claim is that after a party, after a concert or party, that basically Chris Brown and his buddies jumped a bunch of guys and beat them up. Now, I'm particularly curious. What I couldn't tell is if I had not read the entire complaint yet, but if this was security that did this or Chris himself. But from the comments in the article so far, it appears it was actually Chris. And this is one of Chris's many incidents of him beating somebody up at a club, right? It's just that in the past, Chris has been able to cover these up. It's like fisticuffs with Drake or Trey Songz or those kind of people where they don't want to go to court. Now, it seems like these guys are going to try and go for all they can, including one of the 4 alleged victims is still in the hospital.
Now, listen, the criminal attorney, Brian Ross, I need your help with this. I am so confused at how Chris Brown and his legal team are constantly able to avoid any type of prosecution of any sorts. It's quite clear that he has a demonstrated history of violence. Not verbal violence only, but physical violence where he's constantly putting his hands on people. He put it on our favorite Rihanna. He put it on one of our other favorite, Karuchi. She has a restraining order against him. He has multiple allegations about inappropriate sexual behavior and aggressive behavior. He had a meltdown at one of the largest television morning shows that we saw, where he busted windows down and ruined a green room. Tell me, Attorney Brian Ross, what is it going to take to get Chris Brown charged and convicted of something at this point?
Well, the words that your viewers need to hear are NPA. NPA stands for non-prosecutorial affidavit. We go back to Rihanna, right? His ex-girlfriend, when he was singing for Wrigley's Gum. Remember that? He was the man, wasn't he? And she was beaten up by him allegedly in a Lamborghini, and she signed an NPA, which says, I don't remember what happened. I don't recall what happened. I don't want to prosecute. The NPA, it's an affidavit signed by the alleged victim, turned over to the prosecutor, and then the case is gone. The theory of law is called corpus delicti. You don't have a body to testify against the assailant, a la Chris Brown, if we're dismissed case. This is what he keeps getting the benefit of. His legal team keeps getting NPAs. Why? Because his insurance or whoever does it, and could apply it, that he buys his way out of it somehow, and then you sign an NPA. What do you really want?
I think you hit on something right there.
The Rihanna case was distinct. The NPA was signed in that case because actually Rihanna admitted she started the fight. She punched him in the face consistently as he was driving down the highway and was beating him in the head with metal objects. He pulled over and she continued to beat him. So that started as mutual combat, where arguably, because she was a woman, he should have stopped hitting. He should have stopped defending himself. So that was distinctly different. Now, the Karuchi and the other things, can't speak to those. But when the victim says, I started it, I punched him in the face, and when she herself has had other situations of punching a man in the face, then that is a distinct situation. However,
do you really believe it?
Hold on 1 second, please. Hold on. This is what I want to know. Okay, so let's separate ourselves from the Rihanna case and let's go to the multiple other allegations that he's had against him. I think we're on to something. I think that in most of the cases that he's been accused of have been female victims. And I think because they've been female victims that have been put in compromising positions, whether it was dating, partying with him, or doing other stuff that could be viewed as inappropriate. I think that Attorney Brian Ross is onto something. I think possibly he was able to get out of those because he was able to pay it to make it go away or settle it outside of court. All right, because there's a laundry list. You can Google it. There's a laundry list of stuff that he's been accused of as it relates to physical abuse. All right. Now let's move forward to these guys that are now in the courthouse with him. These are men, and one he had a beef with prior, and it was his security guard that let Chris know after the guy came forward and tried to up him for a great concert. The security guard let him know that this is a guy you had beef with early, and that's when Chris went off and then allegedly hit him. So I'm going to go back to my original question, Attorney Brian Ross. If you were representing those guys, what would you have to do in order to make this charge stick?
As a criminal case or a civil case? Money or jail?
It's criminal. It's clearly criminal. It just happened.
The criminal case is purely based upon intent, right? Now, the bigger question is, why is this person who he has a past history with in a place where he can come across him again? But beyond that, right? And the security points him out and he goes ballistic. I was standing here minding my own business. I had nothing to do with it. I was just watching the show like everybody else, if you want to believe that. And he assaulted me through the first punch. And because of that, he should be charged with a crime of battery. That's where I would go with it.
Okay, so charged with a crime of battery, what does it take for him to get convicted of a charge of battery?
The definition of battery is the intentional. I'm sorry, Simone. Go ahead, please. No, go ahead.
No, I said he has to be guilty. He ain't guilty. Continue.
The Oh, he guilty. The crime, he's guilty. The crime of battery, for all of you listeners, is the intentional offensive touching to another person against their will. Listen, I've seen battery charges come from people having intercourse, and one person had a venereal disease and the other person didn't know it. So battery can come in many forms. In this instance, to me, he threw the first punch. He threw the first punch. You could have walked off stage and your whole crew jumped in, including a 300-pound man. Guess what? You could be charged with battery, and you probably should be charged with battery.
You know what you said? You touched on something, or what I'm seeing right now is something that's very interesting. A woman, a female attorney with a law degree from an Ivy League school, defends Chris Brown. Bailiff, can I see that video of Chris Brown, please? I think that Chris Brown, the reason why he gets off on a lot of his cases. Can I see the video of Chris Brown, please?
The United States Senator.
You gotta laugh. Let me tell you, Judge, there's a commenter here, and I'm gonna find her. I love her comment.
I feel like that the reason why Chris Brown gets off on a lot of his cases are because there are people like Attorney Redwine who thinks that he is an attractive dude, that he can dance, that he's got this appeal, and that they forget all of his bad doings. What say you, Brian Ross?
Rosanna Bibbins, your watcher, says Chris is a talented, good-looking thug. Sad because he's talented. She hit the nail on the head. He probably does get away with a lot of stuff because he can dance. He's talented. But I think that his transgressions are going to catch up to him on this one. I think it's too much. You cannot just beat people up, and it's twice in a short period of time. You got to get rid of that entourage, man. You got to dump it dump it.
Now back to the guilty Attorney Redwine. Can you put Redwine on the main stage, please? Back to Attorney Redwine. Attorney Redwine, with all of your indiscretion that you would like to exercise with him, tell why is it that you feel like he's not guilty, and he's got a laundry list of offenses?
Okay, now I'll say this. I'll reserve some of my comments from reading the entire complaint, because what I don't like to do is put stuff out there when I don't know all my information. But what it does sound to me is, if he has beef with some of these gentlemen, right, that are already there, why are you going to a venue he's hosting, a venue that he's at? You're antagonizing him. And so I think sometimes when you have these softer looking rappers and stuff and singers, that there are other guys who I want to make a name for myself, and I'm going to beat Chris Brown. I think they may have come to a fight, and then he just lost. These other guys lost.
No. The story's quite clear. They went to congratulate him. They shook hands. It was amicable in the beginning until Chris was reminded that this was a guy that he had beef with. So even though, if you could say antagonizing, it could be antagonizing him by saying great show. I don't know about that of Simone Redwine, but this is what I want to ask next. Where you see how in the Puffy case, the federal government or the prosecutor's office or the attorney general's office took on the case without there being anyone actually there to press a charge. They decided they want to press a charge.
Correct.
Why has no attorney general done this in any of the cases with Chris Brown?
So I'll say with the Houston case, it's just too soon. They're probably investigating as we speak, particularly since one of the gentlemen is still in the hospital. In addition, the attorney for these gentlemen, Tony Busby, is extremely powerful throughout the state of Texas, including, I am sure that Busby is collecting evidence. He's probably, in addition to assisting the cops, making sure they have everything they need, he's probably hired private investigators that are drumming up additional information. Because Tony Busby, if he's able to get charges pressed against Chris Brown, that makes getting this $50 million that he already filed his lawsuit for so much easier.
Got it. All right. Thank you, counselors, for this review of Chris Brown and this new, amongst many, battery charges. All right. Next up, Drew Sidora. How are you? Ralph Pittman. Welcome to the Court of Public Opinion. This couple, I have to be honest, everybody, I might be partial, because I actually like this couple. I'm pretty obsessed with this, and upset that they have landed in the Court of Public Opinion because of their divorce. Now, the interesting thing about this divorce is Drew Sidora says she can't get the man out of the house. Counselors, I've never heard anything so ridiculous in my entire life. Is it legal, Simone Redwine, for you to divorce somebody and not get them out your house?
Yes, and thank you for that plug. If you didn't know already, I have a YouTube channel called Girl, Is That Legal? And it absolutely is legal because the home that you're residing in at the time of your divorce, even if it was the other party's separate property, meaning they owned the home prior to getting married, neither party can be displaced. Unless there is a prenup that says what's supposed to happen. So in contrast, Portia and Simon's divorce, their prenup says that if she filed for divorce or if he filed, that Simon would have to get up out the house, right? So that's how Simon got out. But these two, you cannot put your spouse out of the home. The only way they can be put out is actually if there's domestic violence. So that is why sometimes when there's a divorce situation, you'll see they keep calling the cops on each other, just like Kim Zolciak keeps doing with her husband, and vice versa, is because a restraining order is the only way to get your spouse out of there before the termination of the divorce.
That's so smart to recognize, Attorney Redwine, because I read specifically that she did not say anything about physical abuse, but she did mention mental abuse. Now, this is what I want to say. Bailiff, if you could put up the picture of Ralph Pittman. Bailiff, can I get the picture of Ralph Pittman?
Whoa! Whoa! Hey!
It's the bailiff today,
Calm
everybody.
down.
It's the bailiff
Calm
today.
down.
Can you imagine, Attorney Redwine, being divorced from this man, but he's walking around downstairs and around the house with your kids looking like this? I think that's probably what's the most frustrating thing for Sidora. She's upset that she knows good and well the longer that man stay in the house, she might backslide. What say you?
Oh, I be going down them steps to the basement every now and then. I say, baby, look, we don't even have to talk. I'll bring a plate.
We don't even have to talk.
I'm not getting pregnant by you. I bring a plate. Because, baby, I get pregnant by you in Texas.
Unbelievable.
A baby is born. And so I'm not about to have to sit up here dealing with your behalf for 9 more months. I got the plate. You got the condom. Let's go.
Attorney Brian Ross, if you were representing Drew Sidora, what advice would you be giving her right now? Because she says that she's very frustrated. She feels like that she has never seen anything so ridiculous in her life. She said it's making the situation worse. And my thing is, let's examine this. What's actually making the situation worse? The temptation, or because I don't understand. He lives in the basement. He's still taking care of his kids. He sees his kids every day. How is this making the situation worse? And what would you be telling her if you were her attorney?
I would tell her that you got to deal with it, or you have to get an apartment and go find your own place. I don't practice family law. I did a little bit. You got to give Attorney Simone Redwine props for sticking with it, because it is a nightmare. And in this situation, yes, he lives in the basement. They only got one kitchen. They got one garage. They got one gym. They got one bathroom upstairs. His closet's upstairs. This living in the basement is a myth. It's a fantasy. He's going to walk up there looking like $1,000,000. Trust, I look like
probably naked
like
just to get on her nerve.
Just in case y'all wanted to know, I look like that 20 years ago. Okay. All right.
Hold on. Order in my court. I met him 20 years ago. Order in my court.
I look like
remember. Counselor, you will not lie in my
Listen
court.
to me. I look like that, and I sound like Luther Vandross with a slight cold. Okay? Everyone knows this. All right?
Well, wait a minute.
Listen, look, Judge, I had to come back. She said, I don't even need you to talk. Really? For real?
No words. I don't need any of the words. And I think a part of the drama, too, what makes it hard, right, is neither one of them can move on as far as dating. Now, she was rumored to have dated a little lady man. It was a real handsome woman. I don't remember. What's that handsome lady's name? She used to be with me.
Really is it a she, Simone? Because we know you will butcher.
Wait. Are you saying
a real lady?
She
real
dated
woman.
Another woman. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. Drew Sidora was rumored to be dating this woman who was on Love and Hip Hop. She was like Mimi's ex-girlfriend. Yeah, she's a lady. She's a handsome lady. I don't remember her name. Somebody put it in the comment. Ty Young. There we go. Thank you. She was rumored to be dating her. And then throughout the marriage, He's been slanging that thing. But then also, so they'd like to move on. But part of the reason likely he has not moved out is generally the mom wants to stay in the house with the kids. And a lot of times the husband wants that as well, so that the kids have as little bit of a transition as possible, right? But see, I don't think Ralph got no job. I don't know what that man does other than slang D. Okay, I know he slangs it.
I think that's it. And listen, Simone, I didn't want to go there, but I was like, what? He has a company called some sort of business economics. Brother, man, tell me what you do. Tell me what you do for a living, man. Come on, man.
Call me daddy.
He ain't got no money. The reason they still live together because he ain't got no money. He ain't got no money for another place, and he wants a nice place to where he can slang D for them ladies. Well, I heard is that a Jamaican man? What kind of man is that?
Don't tell me you got a Jamaican story for us.
Oh, I had me one. He was a little bitty thing, little short guy, looked like Master Shredder. But then after Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, let me tell you, that one he was packing a punch. One night I rolled over in the bed. I thought I rolled over on the remote control. I said,
"Oh no, you did not just say that."
He said, "Oh no, that ain't
hilarious." I thought you rolled over on the remote control.
You gonna leave the
veins.
You're gonna leave the 5-footers alone, okay? Us 5-footers got rights too.
Y'all better watch out for them little bitty Jamaican men.
5-footers got rights too.
Okay, the Court of Public Opinion is losing its mind. Before we move on, don't forget to hit that like button, everybody. Please hit the subscribe button. If you have not subscribed, please hit the subscribe button. If you are subscribed, please invite people to come to the show. This is a fun show. It's entertaining, but you're also going to learn something. And also, please don't forget to turn on your notifications. And lastly, get in the comments because there's a part of the show where we're gonna answer your questions, any questions that you may have. All right, next up, everybody, Sean Kingston and Janice Turner. Welcome back to the Court of Public Opinion. Now, I'm gonna need some help with this particular story because Attorney Brian Ross, you're the criminal attorney here. You know, first of all, Janice and Sean are no strangers to the court system. Janice just was indicted federally, and now Sean Kingston and his mom are, could expect up to 20 years in prison or get up to 20 years in prison if convicted. Attorney Brian Ross, this is my question. With all the history that the two have, they stole money from Bank of America at the tune of $500,000. They stole money from City National Bank at the tune, of course, of $250,000. They stole jewelry. They stole this. They've been stealing for the last 10 years, allegedly. How are they able to continue to get away with this?
The United States Attorney has charged Sean Kingston, who I actually like I loved his music, and his mother, who's 61, with conspiracy to commit wire fraud and wire fraud. Quote, defendants unjustly enriched themselves by falsely representing that they had executed bank wire or other monetary payment transfers for vehicles, jewelry, and other goods purchased by defendants when in fact no such bank wire or other monetary payment transfer had been executed by the banks. Thereafter, defendants kept the money to the tune of north of $1 million.
Okay, let's put a pause on. Let's put a pin there for 1 second. So, from what I'm understanding, they go on the lot of a car dealership and they pick out the most expensive car, which is $250,000, up to $500,000. And you're sitting there with the finance manager and he's running your credit and he sees that it's a zero. If he did any real type of credit check, wouldn't their past indiscretions come up on that credit report?
We both know they're not going to do that, Judge. What they say is, I'm Sean Kingston. The name comes in. I'll bring you in somebody famous. I'll pair you with Diddy's boy Justin Bieber. Trust me, I'm good for it. I had a case.
What they're saying, Attorney Ross, is that he claimed that he initiated the wire transfer to pay for the car. However, the wire transfer never transferred in some of these cases.
Yeah, but bought cars. I bought cars. Attorney Simone Redwine's bought cars. Your viewers have bought cars. 99% of the time, you're not leaving that lot unless they get paid. Either you got a loan or you showed up with cash. You brought a cashier's check, which isn't even prevalent now because of the fraud. Some take credit cards. but they're giving him this car on the credentials of his musical campaign.
Okay.
And that in itself is the fraud.
Gotcha.
Also, because Your Honor, they also feel like, oh, why would he lie? We could find him so easily. He's so easily traceable and findable. So that's the assumption, and he's really good at those things. But me and my girlfriends were just talking about this weekend. I had a little too much tequila. I was drunk on a boat in Chicago for Black Sea, and we were talking. We're all lawyers, and we're talking about how what is it? Fat boys be lying all the time. It's like when fat boys get into financial trouble, they be the first one. They just lie all the time. And the thing is,
Attorney Red, why did you say fat boys be lying all the time?
Fat boys be lying all the time. That are like right on the cusp of cute. Like, just get it together. Okay, we like your little Teddy Ruxpin ass if you would be authentic. So this scamming just seems very on brand for the conversation I had drunk on a boat with tequila about fat boys.
Okay, well, Brian Ross, let me play devil's advocate right here for 1 second. If I was representing Sean Kingston and his mother, I would say it is the responsibility of those who continue to give him money when he's not worthy of receiving the money. Therefore, you have to take some type of plausible responsibility for being irresponsible in your ability to do your due diligence on whether they should get the money. I would push back and say there's nowhere in America where these two, with their past indiscretion, should ever be allowed any type of financing, any type of car, any type of jewelry, any type of anything, if you did your due diligence. Where is the plausible deniability in this, and who holds that responsibility, Attorney Ross?
Okay, the federal government has to prove two things, and it's not easy to prove. So they have wide discretion, right? A lot of choices. The first thing they have to prove is that you intended to defraud someone. If you said that, hey, listen, I had the money and I intended to pay for it. When I got home, Sears came to repossess my washer and dryer, and I had to pay for that. I didn't intend to take that Bentley off the lot and not pay for it. I had every good intention to pay. Step two, the government has to prove that you made a substantial step toward doing that. You didn't have any money in your bank account. You'd filed for bankruptcy, something to that matter of fact. And that's why the government may have a problem, because you have to prove not one, but both elements, that you intended to defraud and that you took a substantial step to defraud them. How do you prove that? And that's going to be their difficulty. That's going to be their problem.
Wow.
Not just clear.
Now, one of our viewers, Al, made a great comment when you said, when you talked about the plausible deniability. The viewer, Don Coyote, said one word: commission. Commission is why a lot of those salespeople would be comfortable. Hey, because all they get paid for, right, is that the deal is done and the person walks off. Now, later, their commission is going to have to be walked back at some point. But hey, that could be later down the line. So I think it's that, but also notably on the civil law side. So if a civil law complaint was brought by any of these entities that claim they were defrauded, most states have what's called comparative liability. What that means is they would assign a percentage of liability to everyone involved, a percentage to the car dealer who let him leave with the car without verifying everything, as well as Sean. And if they find that they are 50-50 liability, or if one entity is 50.01, they don't get nothing.
This is fascinating to me because I think there should be some type of responsibility held. I just remember when I was a banker, right? I had a responsibility to do my due diligence, a check on every client that I took in the bank. Yes. And if I did not do that due diligence check, I could be held 110% responsible, and that client could be off the hook because I didn't do my due diligence. And I just don't understand how these two individuals, with all of these charges, federal charges, state charges, all of these charges of past instances, why would they have to be held responsible for something that they've shown you that they were? They've been crooks forever. So what makes them a different crook on Tuesday than the crook that they were on Monday? It's the people who let them be a crook on Tuesday's responsibility to stop them from being a crook. Does anybody hear me on this? Attorneys, anybody?
Yeah, but Judge, let's suppose this is what the federal government does to you. For all of you listening, You go out there and get one car that way. You go out there and sell a little bit of cocaine that way. They're not going to get you on the first or the second one. They're going to let you get to 7, 8, 9, 10 attempts, and they're going to build a pattern of behavior. And they're going to enter all of that, and Attorney Redwine will back me on this, on what's called habit or modus operandi. And this is where you have a problem, because they're going to take all when you go to jury trial, they're not going to sit you in there and say, well, here's one. They're going to prance all these people in front and say, it happened in February. Then it happened in March. Then it happened in April. And and you're sitting there by the end of the trial, your head in your hand.
Right. Okay, I got you.
And this is what I think Sean Kingston is. The bigger problem for Sean Kingston is he's on probation for this already.
Right.
So he's going to have a violation of probation affidavit, which they're going to go forward on first and put him in jail. He's got a problem. He's got a big problem.
All right. Simone Redwine, did you have any more before we move to our last case of the evening?
No, y'all summed it up for me. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Attorney Ross. That really is good insight. It also reminds me of kind of what I feel like they're doing with P. Diddy.
Yeah.
As we still, we've been months away from this raid. We still have not seen any charges come forth. So maybe we're just waiting to see what else is coming out in the watch.
He's got great lawyers. He's got great lawyers.
Gotta be. Good money's being spent right there. All right. Last up, Donald Trump, you are in the court of public opinion. He has filed he's filed with the FEC, which is the Federal Election Commission, that he wants to prevent Biden from transferring money from Joe Biden to Kamala Harris for her now presidential campaign. Now, there's quite a bit of contention here because our attorneys, one feels like she's able to do it. One of our other legal beagles said it's illegal. Attorney Simone Redwine, let's start with you. What say you as it relates to her being able to transfer those funds?
I say absolutely, because here's why Trump is stupid. Now, we already know he's stupid. He's been stupid for a long time. And he likes to use complaints and the legal system to really delay the inevitable. My favorite part of this is the Supreme Court, Trump's Supreme Court, just came down and basically said regulatory entities have no authority. This is related to the EPA, basically, so that they could just pollute us and kill us with cancer-causing drugs. But that flies over here to the FEC. So since his own Supreme Court has determined that regulatory agencies have no real authority, then make all the complaints you want, baby. They ain't got no real authority. Secondly, the funds were raised for the Biden-Harris campaign. She's Harris. She's Harris, okay? So people were already giving to her. What happens when the president bails out or dies or anything else? No. The vice president becomes president. So it would be one thing if Biden was trying to transfer the money to Gavin Newsom or Gretchen Whitmore or someone else. But because he's simply getting out of the race and it is still a Harris ticket, it's permissible. And he has
All right, this sounds good to me. But Attorney Brian Ross, criminal attorney, you're saying this is not the case and that Attorney Redwine is just blowing smoke up our you-know-what. What say you, Attorney Ross?
Before your listeners bash me, I am not anti-Kamala Harris, okay? Y'all have your comment on my eyes, hating on a brother. Let me be clear. I am not anti-Kamala Harris, okay? Here's your law school 101 because y'all ain't go. The definition of a gift is the intent to give and not receive back. That is the legal definition of a gift. That's why if you marry that little cutie and you give her the wedding ring and it don't work out, you can't get it back. Don't say, well, give me the wedding ring back. Nope, she can keep it because you intended to give it to her in exchange for marital vows. Same thing in here. The money was given to the Biden-Harris campaign. As much as I would like Kamala Harris to have that money, it was not intended for her to run for president. It was intended for her to run as vice president. Had I known that she was going to run for president, I might not have given her that money. Therefore, the Biden-Harris campaign needs to refund the money back to
order in the court. Order in the court.
Then refund it back to her.
Silence his mic. I don't like what he's saying. In the court of public opinion, I don't like it. I just don't like it. We're in this court of public opinion. We want Kamala Harris to get all the money, and we need solutions for her to get the money. Now, Attorney Ross, I'm gonna give you one more chance. I'm gonna hold you in contempt and put you out of my court. Give me a solution to how that woman can keep that money so that she can win this presidency right now.
Who muted my microphone? They didn't like what I had to say. Somebody, the judge muted my microphone.
You got 2 seconds to give me a solution to how this woman can keep this money.
The only solution for her to do that is if the Biden campaign issues letters of redress and says, I am no longer running. It is my desire to transfer these funds to Kamala Harris. If you have an objection to that or whatever language they want to use, we'll refund the money. If you do not, click the yes button. It will be transferred. That's the only way to do it. If you can do it that way, then you'll pass by. Now, before you cut me off, I'll let you go out. The good news for Kamala Harris fans is that the FEC, Federal Election Commission, is very slow. The election is about less than that, really. 4 months or 3.5
days.
By the time they render a decision, in all likelihood, you'll already be the president of the United States of America.
Well, in all likelihood, we've raised $100 million from our Black women and our Black men call in her first 24 hours of announcing her presidency. I know we need the money, but just in case, we're ready. Attorney Redwine, what were you saying?
And I would just say what I think they should do is spend that money. Spend the transferred money first. That way, by the time the complaint or anything, it's like, oh, too sad. We ain't got no money. That's what I would do.
So let me
take the 100 million.
Hold on, attorney.
Take the 100 million, set it aside as a value, right? Don't spend it unless you absolutely have to. And then when you win, throw it into a sinking fund and wait for them to come back and complain and give it back to them. See that?
No, Ron, Attorney Ross, be quiet. Just be quiet. I don't even want to hear. I don't want to. Attorney Ross, I might not even
take him out of here.
Bailiff, get the handcuffs for this attorney right here. Okay, but I want to ask this question, a serious question. Okay, attorneys, put your law hats on. Can she keep the money if President Biden decides he wakes up tomorrow and he is sickly, more than sickly, and he's decided that he wants to step down as the president of the United States of America and make Kamala Harris the 47th president of the United States, passing his executive order over to her?
Do it, baby. Do it, baby.
Would she? Because to me, if you really want to be a gangster, in this situation, I would step out of the presidential office, hand it over to her the presidency. It would make her the first African-American president. It'll make her not only the 48th president or the 47th, 45, 46. She would be the 47th president doing a re-election campaign and not a election campaign. And it would just crush all of Donald Trump's campaign now, which is we're not ready for a socialist woman. You know, next is going to be socialist Black woman. We would then kill his entire campaign. So let me get back because I could preach on that forever. Would she be able to keep the money at that point?
It sounds like it to me. Attorney Ross, what do you think?
It's unbelievable. The two of you should go get a canoe and roll it up the same canal. The money was given for a purpose. Let's ask the question. Go through the analysis. Why was the money given? I'll take any answer. Who gave the money to who? The money was given to Biden Harris, correct? We all agree to that. If Biden Harris no longer exists, then you defeat the purpose of the intent of the money. If the money was given to the Democratic National Committee, that's a different conversation. It wasn't. So what they should do is get ahead of it and say, hey, Johnny, you gave $100. I'm no longer running for president. Here's your $100 back. But if you don't want to take it back, we're more than willing to transfer it to Kamala Harris, and you click please transfer it, and no one can say anything. Now, I think
Oh,
the
I'm done with you. Quiet. Done. I'm just done. I don't want to hear any more. I don't want to hear anything else from you. Attorney Redwine, what else do you say before we get to these questions? I'm
My
done.
final thought is I love nothing better than when men be loud and wrong to use their loud,
Lord,
wrong.
am I a remote control? Am I a remote control that you're
Hold on,
rolling
order, my
over?
court. Let her talk. Let her talk.
Well, I'm actually Attorney Ross. I'm not even referring to you, although kind of. I'm actually referring to Trump and Trump's Supreme Court. Because remember, his little Supreme Court is the one that said presidents are immune for whatever they do in office. At this point, we have the most dangerous kind of president possible. We have a president who now has what? He has until January left in office, right? Where he's not running for re-election. So he literally can do anything and be immune. So he can actually write that check in his presidential capacity to her, and he's immune from it. So even if the FEC or whoever says he wasn't supposed to do that, oh, well, he's immune.
Man, let me tell you something. Red Wine, you a bad lawyer. That was a creative way to get out of that. You use John Roberts language. I'm going to show you respect on that. I'm going to give you props on that decision.
And I love it. I love it. Can we get more lawyers like Simone Redwine? All right, everybody. It's time to show everybody where we're going to go to the questions from you, the viewers. First up, we have a question from Billy Little. So because he's a man, he has no right to defend himself, is his question. As a mother, I taught my son not to lay hands on a woman, but I also taught my daughter not to lay hands on a man. Attorney Redwine, would you like to take this question?
No, I'm in agreement. I'm in agreement. And I think that's why a lot of times when you have, I call it when like the woman starts it and it becomes mutual, it gets really hard for DA's offices to decide how or if they're going to prosecute.
Attorney Ryan Ross, what say you?
I'm assuming we're talking about Chris Brown, correct? Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Just want to make sure. I think the door definitely swings both ways. I'm going to make that argument. I'm going to agree with you, but I think that the problem for Chris Brown is his body count's getting bad. His body count's getting bad, man. You know, like once or twice, someone attacks you, you're famous, but you just keep rolling, dude. You really need to take an anger management class for real.
Well, I think he did take an anger management class, and he did go to what do you call it? Recovery, rehab. All right, let's keep going. Billy Little says, speak on it, Redwine. Chris Brown charges $1,000+ to get backstage. If they had an issue before, why go back there? Where is the accountability? All right, I think that's interesting to me because listen, people can go backstage, people can go and say good show. You don't have the right to put your hands on somebody, period. You can't hit someone just because you remember that you have a beef with them, Billy Little. And I think that's whether you're Chris Brown or not. You just got to watch who you put your hands on. All right, Christine R says, this man ain't interested in Karuchi. Okay, I guess that's not a question. Bailiff, how did that question get in there?
It's not Karuchi, it's Karuchi.
Oh, this man ain't interested. Oh, this man right here is not interested in coochie?
Yes. He wants some of them. Let me try.
You know what, Attorney Redwine? If you don't go somewhere and have your...
let me see. Like,
get you a cup of ice, please. Okay, Billy Little said, why can't poor people leave the lot without them getting their money?
Oh, John Kingston.
You're right. You won't be poor. You won't be able to do that. Okay, let's keep going. Let's keep going. Billy Little said, Al, please explain why you're so emotional over Kamala. Perhaps I'm not educated enough, but has she done, you're in the wrong one, Bailiff. Has she done, what has she done for the U.S. in the past 4 years? We're going to break this down on my YouTube channel, separate from the Court of Public Opinion. So if anybody's interested in why and what Kamala Harris has done as VP as well as District Attorney, let's take a listen to this video right here.
Attorney General of the state of California, and I was a courtroom prosecutor before then. And in those roles, I took on perpetrators of all kinds. Predators who abused women, fraudsters who ripped off consumers, cheaters who broke the rules for their own gain. So hear me when I say, I know Donald Trump's type.
Get him, girl.
All right, Baylor, thank you very much. So we're definitely going to be covering some of her significant contributions as well as some of Biden's significant contributions, not only as their term as senator, as district attorney, and as vice president and president. So be sure to watch and turn on the notification for my YouTube special. All right, everybody, it's that time of the show where we've got to render our verdicts. First up, Chris Brown. Is he guilty or not guilty, Simone Redwine, for putting hands on people again? What say you?
I'm going to say not guilty.
Oh, Lord.
Okay, I can't do this with you, Attorney Brown. What the heck, Redwine? All right, Attorney Ross, what say you?
You ain't a sucker for a good-looking, light-skinned man. That boy guilty. That boy more guilty than Diddy. Like, really, dude?
Yes.
All right. In the court of public opinion, Al Reynolds is the judge. I'm finding Chris Brown guilty. Guilty of putting his hands on people when he's not supposed to. Next up, we have Drew Sidora and Ralph Pittman. Is Ralph guilty of being handsome and Drew being guilty of wanting the man out the house? What say you, Attorney Brian Ross?
Man, listen, you're a good-looking brother, but you got to have a real job. You guilty. You guilty of milking it, man. Guilty.
All right, Attorney Redwine.
He is guilty of slanging that thing. Guilty.
All right, we're going to find in the court of public opinion, Al Reynolds, the judge. I'm going to find both Drew Sidora and Ralph Pittman both guilty. Ralph, you're guilty for not finding a job and getting out the house and getting your own place. And Drew, you're guilty because, listen, you've been with him for 8 years. You built this legacy with him. You built this dynasty. You have 2 kids with him. So you got to take some responsibility for that. I find them both guilty. All right, next up, Sean Kingston and Janice Turner, his mom, are they guilty or not guilty of continuously frauding people? Attorney Brian Ross, what say you?
Man, court of public opinion, you're guilty. Innocent until proven guilty because I'm going to stay true to my craft. But, man, if you don't leave them Rolex and watches and Bentleys alone, boy, stop it.
Attorney Redwine.
Guilty.
All right, well, I'm going to say in the court of public opinion, I'm going to take some of the stress off of them. They're guilty of being criminals, but they're not guilty for hustling. This is what they do. If you're going to continue to allow them to hustle, then why not hustle? If you're a hustler, if you continue to let them allow them to hustle, then why should they ever stop hustling? So we're going to find them guilty and not guilty for being good hustlers. All right, everyone, that concludes our show tonight. We hope that you enjoyed it. Be sure to hit that like button. Be sure to hit that subscribe button. If you are subscribed, be sure to hit that share button. Also, don't forget to turn on the notification because we have a great lineup coming up in the next few days as it relates to Kamala Harris and Joe Biden and as it relates to also Sonia Massey. We're going to get to the bottom of that horrible police officer who has past indiscretions that should have never allowed him to have a badge. All right, everyone, have a good night, and court is now adjourned.